And welcome, everyone. For those of you that don't know what time it is, this is the MSL Code S semifinals. This is game one between the Red Terran player down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Antigua Wastes and his blue Terran opponent, Apocalypse, located in the top left-hand corner of Antigua Wastes. This is called Accolon Wastes. My mistake, everyone. I'm full of jumbledness today. So here we are, of course, a TVT. Ooh, very fancy star pattern. This TVT is going to be pretty much similar to all the other TVTs out there. Let's be honest, TVTs are a very interesting matchup, but they all generally revolve around a few key things. There are, of course, divergences, but generally you see things like an emphasis on tanks and air power. I watched a really interesting game the other day in the WCS qualifiers. I was going to rewatching some of the VODs. If you don't know what WCS is and you are a fan of Starcraft, please go look up some of the videos right now because you will be in heaven. But it was some really interesting Hellbat Medevac Banshee play that we saw out of, I think that was Demaga. It was Demaga versus the STC is, I believe, who I was watching. And using the Medevac's Ignite Afterburners upgrade, they were able to fly Hellbats directly into the bio army of the opponent, and it was excellent play. So really quite interesting. Biomine is a new strategy that's been quite popular ever since Heart of the Swarm came out, of course. So here we go. The early game has already, pretty much been done. No real shenanigans coming up from either player. We do have an orbital command and an orbital command. Just noticed that one player got theirs a little bit earlier. We also have only two guys on gas, pulling one back off. He's accumulated enough for a tech lab here in just a moment, or another Reaper, or perhaps a reactor. It's going to be a little bit of a tell, actually, what exactly they go for. Still continuing to mine gas here. There is a worker here. I don't know if all of you can see him back there at home. He is hanging out on the side. Those are the wrong buttons. There we go. This worker here being remiss in the work department. We do have the first Reaper out from PyrO, and this Reaper not going to be able to do tons by itself, although now we do see that reactor that was saved up. Also, no extra money. Very crisp, very clean. Love to see that. We also see the fast expansion from PyrO as well. So this Reaper here is being used to scout and distract Apocalypse from knowing exactly what is going on, and to try to keep him in his base until he gets the economy advantage that this second base is going to be able to do. We see a little bit of scuffling around here. There should be enough Reapers here, Marines here, to push back the Reaper. Accolon Wastes is an interesting map. It's very good. It's got a lot of space around the sides for medevac drop play, especially between the main and the third that we should see later on in the game, depending on how long this game goes. However, for Reapers, it's actually a very poor map. Just look at the surface area. This is the entire surface area that Reapers can harass on this map. So no matter where they go, they're not going to be quite as effective. They're going to be able to be cornered much easier. And just something to note here. So looks like that will get completely surrounded. No more scouting information for you, although the armory is on its way. The factory is done. We see a starport as well. So this could be Hellbats. Although usually with Hellbats you would have seen a reactor going down already. It could also be, so an early medevac is we're going to see a drop of some sort. There goes the Hellbats. Surprised that we didn't see, a reactor on this and then swapping over for the factory. That's a little bit more common nowadays. We do have the eBay down, and the second gas geyser taken and is being mined from. PyrO here has not scouted, although I think he did see the factory when it was being built, so he does know that the factory. He does know that the starport is done, although just because you know buildings there doesn't mean you necessarily know what is going to come out of it. However, with this bunker full of Marines and now this amount of production that he does in fact have in his base. Looks like he should be pretty much fine. Throwing down his own factory. He's got a few bio units here just kind of loitering around in the middle of his base. Generally, if you see them in the middle of the base, that means missed rallies or forgotten from a drop. There's been no drops at this point in the game, and they're not far enough back to really help with a drop. So I would categorize that as perhaps a little bit of a mistake. We do see the full medevac going to come over this way. There is quite enough here to defend, though. This missile turret here would defend and scout It would be able to detect any and all Banshees coming in, and it looks like Apocalypse probably just going to be pushed back. Is not likely going to be able to want to drop and risk losing those this medevac, but instead dropping right on top, going ahead and taking out all of those all those poor Marines. The Hellbat here has no way to retreat and will be taken out quite quickly, though. Altogether, that trade actually went in favor of PyrO. Believe it or not, the medevac going down was the big thing there, and the second Hellbat. If both Hellbats had been dropped, I think that actually would have gone quite poorly for PyrO. So. Good defense there from PyrO. Going to place a few more Marines back there, wanting to make sure that nothing else happens. He's trying to lock everything down. He does have one turret here in the back. This turret would discourage some, although I'd like to see it actually a little bit more in the middle of the mineral line. Able to see a little bit farther with the detection in case of Banshees. And also here, generally, you're not going to get dropships all the way back into this back corner. They'll instead be coming from the side. So, even if there was one here and one here, there's not enough room on the side of the map to sneak things by. However, if you're going to go with one, I guess it's totally an acceptable position. Let's see, continuing back at home. So the second base is done from Apocalypse. The natural's down. However, there's not enough here to really mine from it. There's two lonely workers here. There is an orbital command, so we will continue to get an additional amount of minerals, and he is able to double produce. However, PyrO has a huge lead there. Looking at the army sizes, PyrO has a little bit of a lead, but nothing substantial at this point in the game. And also, mining off of 4 gas geysers, forgetting 2 workers there. That could be a little bit of a problem, especially as he's quite gas-starved at this point in time. But more importantly, he's been continuing to add on barracks, and is looking to start ramping up production here in just a moment. You can see him right now, is supply blocked, but he has continued to increase his lead. It's going to be a little bit of a bad engagement here, but the stim is done for his opponent, and with these reinforcements, he should be able to drive this back. The Hellbat there was able to take quite a bit of damage, but now he should just pick up and run away. It does not look like he is going to, and all of this will fall, and even losing the medevac. That's a little bit of a blunder there as well. PyrO's still supply blocked, and no supply depots on the way. He's been supply blocked for almost a minute now. So that's got to be painful. Having the engagement actually helped him there in terms of continuing to macro, but it did not help him in terms of his army size, because the units that died were simply replaced. Look at all these things here. We do see combat shield just about done. Surprised that we don't have any concussive shell at this point. And also, I'd like to point out there's been no mines produced at this point by either player. This factor here, still no reactor. A little bit surprised about that. Apocalypse is going into kind of more mass Hellion mode. It looks like he's trying to do some sort of variant of biomech. Back in Wings of Liberty, biomech was a very popular style, as you got to mix in those tanks and Hellions, but also still have a pretty substantial force of bio. So we're going to see PyrO here moving right in. He's not got the concave, but he does have superior numbers and those medevacs overhead, and it looks like he's going to be able to roll right on in. He's going to take out all those workers there. A few will survive with their lives to tell the horror stories about how deadly war actually is, and it looks like Apocalypse is just right there going to go ahead and throw down the GG. Not feeling that he can come back from this position, and it looks like PyrO here will go up to a quick 1-0 lead in this matchup. So we'll be right back with Game 2 in just a moment.